Vitya Diaries Chapter 19, Binktop's BFF. Yorgi and I explored St. Petersburg little by little, going everywhere and anywhere we could think to go that wasn't cost prohibitive or too far for a young poodle and two teenagers with metro passes to go. I took him to the docks, which were crowded and full of life. To every museum that our student IDs would give us discounts or free access. To every cafe that I knew of that had the best tea and the cookies that Coach liked. And I showed him how to get onto the roofs, which Mokyuchin wasn't fond of at all. We got into dress rehearsals for theater productions, since I knew the dancers and directors working there, and I gave Yorgi a tour of the Vaganova grounds, since he'd never been before. It was busy and exhausting, and if it weren't for the breaks at parks, and taking time to watch movies for research at his house, I probably would have died. I'd never had a summer that busy before. I think we probably combed just about every inch of the free and easily traversed downtown area. And then we went even further out from that. We went everywhere, really, except for my house. How are your aunt and uncle, anyway? Yorgi asked while I loaded my arms with a new stack of books at the library research for my exhibition skate. They're fine. I haven't seen them in a while. I'd been taking the bus and the train and walking a lot to avoid having anyone give me rides to and from houses. Anytime Yorgi's mama drove us, it was just to the city. I didn't need his mama and my aunt making any sort of contact. Oh, I said, they've been busy. My uncle works all day and my aunt is part-time. Yorgi let it go, and I was grateful. We went to the park. Mokyuchin loved going to the park with us more than most anything else we did. It was there that I'd take off his vest and fluff up his fur and let him run around off leash a bit, chasing a tennis ball that Yorgi and I would take turns throwing. He appreciated having time off from his doggy job, and I did my best to stay content while he relaxed. Fortunately, it was pretty easy to do while he was so happy. I looked over my books and the pages I'd printed out from the computer, sorting out a story in my head. It was 1950s America, and I was a waitress working in a hamburger joint, a malt shop, something like that, serving up food that was terrible for everyone while saving up every bit in hopes of making it to college one day. Big dreams, big heart, hard-working. Nothing standing between me and the life I wanted as long as I had patience and tenacity. I could see the black and white checkered tile, the chrome-plated stools up against the bar, the vinyl seats. And oh, there he was, coming in through that swinging glass door like he wanted to be anywhere but there. Dark hair, hazel eyes, bit of a scowl, and who could blame him? He deserved so much more than the pressure his parents put on him, or the teasing the girls gave him in school for being a loner with his books. He was smart and sensitive, that wasn't a crime. He was torture in that black leather jacket, taking a booth in the back and ordering coffee black, no cream. So manly. When I bring it to him, he looks me over, heavy brows lifting, corner of his lips quirking ever so slightly to show his interest, and I can't help but tremble in my skates. I get back to work, but he watches me and I can feel his eyes following me as I deliver orders here and there, and it's like being hunted. I don't want to admit it, but I like it. Then he stands, stalking to me, taking the tray I'm carrying and tossing it aside so he can take my hand. There's something so appealing in the honesty of Ruff. He's one who knows what he wants and takes it, simple as that. No games, just hunger. He pulls me close, and asks if I'd like to take a ride. Of course he has a motorcycle and I try my best to resist, just to see how hard he'll press. I want to know just how much he wants me. You deserve more than this. He tells me I can give you everything, and he can. He's tall, strong, he has money, and oh, he smells so nice. It whirls me out, and when he pulls me in again, it's for a soft and slow dance, one hand at the small of my back, holding me right against him, and it's like a little piece of heaven. He searches my eyes, holding my chin between his fingers, trying to decide if I'm a devil or angel, but there's no answer for that. How could any one person be expected to choose one? It depended on the situation. In certain conditions, situational angel, conditional devil. Fair enough, he murmurs. Then dips me low for a kiss. Mokyuchin, let him sleep. I blink, suddenly aware of the blue sky cut in a latticework of swaying leaves overhead and my dog being pulled off of me by Yorgi. Huh? You dozed off. My research lay scattered in Mokyuchin's wake, and Yorgi could barely contain his laughter, though he tried. Sitting up, I tried to collect everything and hold on to what I could of my fading dream in the process. How long was I out? Almost an hour. You've been tired lately, I groaned. Sorry. It's fine. Must have been a good dream, though. Your sweetheart? What makes you say that? You're blushing. Mokuchin body tackled me, ready to be back on the job after his extended break, which was just fine by me. I was about ready to die. As Nico's trip got closer and closer, Yorgi's teasing got more and more relentless. Even Coach noticed, to the point where he actually told Yorgi off for pestering me. It was nice to have Coach on my side again. I told him it was okay and he let it drop. Coach pulled me aside after to make certain. Vitya, are you sure everything is all right? Yeah, Coach, I said, shrugging. Yorgi and I were just messing around. You two are spending a lot of time together lately. Yeah, who would have guessed? It's good for you to have friends, Vitya. I stuck my tongue out at him. A gut reaction. But I wonder if you may have any feelings for your rinkmate. At first, I didn't even understand the implication because it was so completely improbable, but the knowing smile on Coach's face cemented it pretty quick and I almost gagged. What? Me? Yorgi? I hissed, keeping my voice low in case said rinkmate had lingered behind to eavesdrop instead of waiting for me in the locker room. No, Coach. No. Oh? Tree sticks, Coach. I was still trying to whisper as I scrambled for my phone to pull up evidence. No, 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 I like Nico. Nico. Benefit boy. Moscow. You remember? Nico. The old man held up his hands, still smiling. At your age it's hard to tell, so I ask. He conceded. But he still leaned in to look at the text that I showed him, the one where Nico had referred to me as a cuddly little bear. Ah, yes, Miska. Yes, I said, taking one last look at the text before hiding my phone and all its precious contents. Miska. So there. Okay. All right. He patted my shoulder. I'm glad that you have a friend, Vitya. Yeah. I pulled away from his touch and stumped toward the locker room where Yorgi was waiting. Bye, Coach. Me, Nico. Are you jealous? N. Why? Of what? Me spending all this time with Yorgi. N. Why would I care? N. Why? He's there in St. Petersburg with you and I'm in Moscow. N. Why? That makes it hard to do anything. I shouldn't have been texting during dinner with my aunt and uncle, but I couldn't help it. The evening was when I was the most free because Yorgi had to actually be with his own family during the week. I stared down at my phone instead of at the kotlety on my plate, but no one was paying attention with the TV on. Good thing, too. Each text tugged at my heartstrings, playing with my emotions like a cat does with yarn. It hurt. The first part of it was so dismissive, like he didn't care at all. But then each text after was an immediate betrayal of his true feelings. He wanted to be here, with me. He did care. He was jealous. I didn't want him to hurt. I didn't want him to be sad. I didn't want him to be all the way in Moscow. Me, you'll be here soon, though, you know. Me, and truth be told, it was a risk, a calculated risk. But Yorgi said that I had to take those risks and fight for love, that it was worth it. And if Nico really mattered to me, I had to be bold. Me, I've really been wishing you were the one going with me to all of these places. Anyway, me, not him. I set my phone face down after I hit send. Honestly, I felt bad for saying that about Yorgi. I really liked pulling around with him, but I hoped that would get the right message across. Exclusivity, preference, feeling. Dinner didn't hold my interest, but I entertained it long enough for Mokuchin to come wandering in and bump against my leg. He knew he would never get any scraps from me, but that never stopped him from trying. It was his one big weakness. No, Moku, I told him, poking his nose. He licked my finger, and gave me his best puppy eyes. When my phone vibrated again, I abandoned dinner and began cleanup, much to my relative's chagrin. You're always on the go these days, Vitya, my uncle said. He's growing up so fast. N. Why? I guess if you really wanted to we could do something while I'm there. N. Why? If you're not going to be busy with your rinkmates. Me, nope. Me, I'm all yours. Me, just let me know what day you're free that weekend. N. Why? Okay. When I told Yorgi the good news, he flipped out and called to congratulate me over the phone. Extreme? Yes. Charming? Perhaps. I guess even Coach was calling him my friend, and he'd stopped being second place in my phone a couple of weeks back. And maybe that was okay. The next time I was over, though. Tetyopolya assaulted me right when he came through the door. Vitya, I hear that you have a big date coming up. That's such good news. Although I turned a glare on Yorgi, he'd already hidden behind her. That coward. I did the best I could on my own. Yeah, I guess so. Ghost will have to lend you something nice to wear, I think. And oh, you should let me cut your hair. My jaw dropped. Really? Mouth open like the herrings my aunt loves so much and stared. Horrified. Speechless. Then I grabbed for my ponytail with palms and spread fingers, protecting like a dog protects a soup bone. Mokyuchin stopped his customary greeting with Draka and Lukik and looked back in my direction. Mama, Yorgi cut in, 3 shades paler. I don't think. His weak show of chivalry shook me from my silence, and I made a sound that was half holler, half shriek, which got all of their attention. You can't cut my hair. I loved my hair. It was important to me. Sacred, even. Tradition or not, I wasn't about to let some crazy lady anywhere near it. Yorgi's mother stood still for a moment, stunned and blinking, then laughed. I didn't mean cutting it short, Vitya. No, of course not. I know that's part of your image. I just meant trimming it a little. Cutting off the split ends. I don't have split ends. But even as I said it, all 3 of us turned our attention to the tip of my ponytail, where the hair was pointed and maybe just a tiny bit ratted. Which didn't make sense. I'd always used the beauty regimen that Lilia had recommended to me, and made sure to be careful with the hair dryer. So why? It's alright, Vitya, Tetyopolya said, smiling in spite of my obvious dismay. It happens. We can just trim off the edges and it'll be nice and healthy again. Perfect for your date. I squirmed in place. My hair. My beautiful hair. What had happened? How had things gone so wrong? It's okay, Viktor. Mama cuts all of our hair. She's really good at it. And you'll love it. There's nothing like a fresh haircut. I doubted that. I really doubted that. To her credit, she did a good job. Even though I was nervous the whole time. I kept imagining her getting too happy with the scissors and taking off several feet instead of just an inch. It would have been all too easy for her to do, with me sitting on that kitchen chair and her in control. I was Yorgi's rival, after all. She was a wolf mother. Those are terrifying. But she didn't, and soon Yorgi and I were up in his room again, with pizza as consolation, even though it wasn't in either of our diets. We're teenagers, Yorgi said. You have to eat this kind of stuff sometime, Viktor. You need to grow. I didn't believe him. But then again, Yorgi wasn't a ballet dancer. At least, he wasn't living at a world-renowned ballet academy. It was different. But the pizza was good, and I ate some to shut him up, leaning up against his bookcase. Sorry she freaked you out about your hair. It's okay. You wouldn't believe how many times my aunt and uncle have threatened to chop it off. Really? Yep. And the only reason they haven't made me cut it at the academy is the president knew my mama. He put it down in the records as some religious thing, I think. Does that make me Samson? Yorgi went pale again. We just cut it, though. I don't think it really works like that, Yorgi. Even in the Bible, his real sin was something else. Oh, I think Fifi would kill me if I ever cut it. My unicorn hair. Hey, which Hogwarts house are you? I blinked at him. Random. I don't know. You mean you've never thought about it, or you have no idea what I'm talking about? I'd read all the books available in Russian, and I'd seen the movies. I'd probably pick up the 4th book during the Grand Prix circuit, too, since the final was being held in Colorado Springs, in the States. Of course I'd thought about it. What kid hadn't? I just don't think anyone but the Sorting Hat can really decide. That's it. We're gonna have you take a test. A what? Yorgi had me in his office chair in minutes. Modem dialed in, with a which Hogwarts house are you? Quiz on the screen. He hovered while I answered the questions, taking my time with each one. You nerd. Are you going to tell me which house you are? I asked, glancing back at him with my cursor over the tally button. I value hard work, patience, and loyalty. I'm a Hufflepuff, he said, and he was quite proud of it. Huh. I hit the scoring button. I can see that, sure, badgering me about every little thing. The website kicked back the result and both of us stared at it, the little graphic, and the description for a few seconds in silence. Ravenclaw, I read. Values intelligence, knowledge, and wit. Blue and bronze. Emblematic animal is the eagle. Wow. I thought for sure you'd get Gryffindor. Really? I turned to look at him. I thought you'd assume I was Slytherin. No, he shook his head. Anyway, Do you think this is accurate? I don't know. The eagle on the screen was so poised, so in control of itself. I liked it, but I wasn't sure that I could really claim my place among its roost. Maybe with years of training. It's just an online quiz. But where do you want to be? There are pros and cons for each house. I'd have to make a list. Really think about it. Yogi slumped in his chair with a sigh. No, you're definitely a Ravenclaw. Why are you upset? I'm not. Something wasn't making sense. Me? A Gryffindor? Where had Yogi gotten that idea? But then it all clicked. Wait. Yogi, do you think that I'm some kind of Harry Potter? He flushed. What? No. You do. You do, don't you? You think I'm Harry. And you're Neville, and Coach is Hagrid or something. Oh my god, and my parents even died in a car accident. And I live with my boring aunt and uncle not under the stairs, though. Viktor. Yogi was laughing. Stop. And, well, my poodle is really, really smart. He's pretty much a familiar, right Mokyu? Mokyuchin looked up from the floor where he'd been napping, confused, but wagged his tail. Pancakes. Even Vaganova is a mystical sort of fancy academy with dorms that most people aren't allowed to go into. Viktor. Yogi howled, draped over the chair and half onto me. I'm sorry. Yogi, I'm not a wizard or a witch. I'm not the chosen one. I guess I can't blame you, though. I do have magical unicorn hair. He wiped tears from his eyes. Okay, I get it. Do you know who Voldemort would be? I don't know. Yogi picked himself up again, readying himself to crack up all over again. Who? No one. I don't think life works like that. It's not really logical, I guess. It's more subtle. I leaned back, hand to chin to think. He who must not be named is more of a symbol for the ideals of the evils of the world than an individual, I think. This isn't a story, you know? He frowned at me, slumping where he sat. You're definitely a Ravenclaw. I'll never doubt again, you nerd. Hey, let's have a Harry Potter movie marathon. So we did, and then we watched a movie called Hocus Pocus, which I'd never heard of before. After that, it was something called Practical Magic. All the while, we played with the sugar gliders on the couch, letting them run around in and out of our sleeves, into my hair, snuggling into hoodie pockets like pouches. The best. But when Yogi got out this movie called The Witches, I had to stop him. Yogi, I get that you're really cultured and everything, but I'm sensing a theme here. He squirmed on the couch next to me. Not that I mind. I yawned. It was so late. But is this just a fun thing or is this part of training? Do you want me to help you bury your ex-girlfriends in the backyard? What? No. That's not. Sometimes, you have to learn what not to do in order to learn the proper way, Viktor. Besides, I think it was clear that true love conquered all, didn't it? I rubbed Mokyuchin's shoulders in thought. He'd fallen asleep with his head in my lap 2 movies ago, and I so didn't blame him. Yeah, I guess so. And was I supposed to learn that putting my crush in mortal danger was a great way to get them to like me? He blinked. What? In Hocus Pocus? You know, Allison. Okay, so I'd been crushing on the broody Max or the even cuter and more tragic Thackeray Binks the whole movie. But Yogi didn't need to know that. Oh, no. I like Sarah. I really couldn't remember who that was. Huh? One of the Sanderson sisters. She was the really hot one. You know, this one. He showed me the cover, and I realized I should have known which one he was talking about right away. Who needs Allison when you can have a real woman? It was so hard to resist the urge to shudder, but I managed, ruffling Mokyuchin's ears instead. Yeah, I really like her hair. It was the best I could come up with. But at least it was true. But what you're saying, I need to make the date dangerous so I can get that kiss. He turned to me and stared, long and hard, blinking only occasionally before he rolled his eyes. You're hopeless, Viktor. Hopeless? Hey, I am not. Next movie. What's this one about? Witches turning kids into mice to rid the world of children. It was my turn to stare. Yogi, this isn't. It's on theme. Yeah, for the occult. I laughed. He didn't. In fact, he looked nervous. Yogi picked up the remote, fingers tapping nervously at the buttons without actually pressing them. Hey, are you tired? Yeah, I guess. I was really tired. I thought you wanted to watch another movie, though. He turned off the TV and set the remote aside. Let's go to bed. Oh, okay. Sure. By the time I got comfy in my sleeping bag on the floor, dogs around me, I was ready to drop dead asleep. So of course when Yogi turned out the light and climbed into his bed, He wanted to talk. Hey, Viktor, you're still awake, right? Yeah? There was a long beat of silence, and then, can I ask you something? Sure, Yorgi. It had happened a few times before, usually with my roommates, but also with my cousins, or other dancers on trips. Even Coach, once or twice, though it was usually me on the other end of it. There was something about the dark, and having someone so close, an almost sort of anonymous intimacy that let you confess what you couldn't any other time. Just the night and a blanket to hide in if the listening ear didn't like what you had to say. But somehow, everyone was more receptive to those whispered words, vulnerably seeking some kind of understanding. They came with trust, fear, and hope. Do you? He struggled to get the words out, hesitating to consider his words carefully. Do you believe in a higher power, like a god or life after death? Or anything like that? Humming, I rolled onto my back to search for meaning in what I could see of his ceiling, and Mokyuchin wiggled closer so he could have his chin on my shoulder. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much. Really? It'd be nice if there was something, but I've heard lots of ideas. Yorgi moved so he could peek at me over the edge of the bed. Yeah? Vaganova has dancers from all over, so we get all sorts. Some are more vocal than others about it. I hear more about churches at school than I ever did at my aunt and uncle's, especially from the international students. He fell back against the bed. And your parents? My hand stilled in Mokyuchin's coat as I wondered how to answer that. Were they watching over me? Would I ever see them again? Had they reincarnated as some kind of guardian spirit, or moved on to some better life where they could be in love all over again? Even after all this time, thinking about it made my throat tight and I couldn't say anything. Just breathe, slow and measured breaths. What would they think about all of this? Nico and me. Was this a mistake? Viktor? I shook myself out of my thoughts, and Mokyuchin licked my cheek. Huh? You're still awake? He sounded relieved. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I dunno. That's okay. They probably didn't discuss what they believed in much when you were little, right? If they weren't orthodox. Not too much. Not like that. I think my papa might have been Jewish, but he wasn't practicing. Mama just talked about soulmates a lot. Oh. But it's not like I'm opposed to it. That's what I meant. I just haven't decided anything. Yorgi studied me in the dark, but said nothing, even though he looked like he wanted to. Really wanted to. He was dying to confess something. I took the bait. What about you? Me? Oh, he fell back to his pillow, disappearing from view. I think I want to look into Wicca. That explained the movies that we'd watched. Though I wasn't sure that it translated to real life at all. Really? Yeah. I have a couple of friends online that are, and I've been doing research. Oh. They want to send me some books. Americans? I asked. Yeah. Americans were good at sharing information. Lots of it. Loudly. Okay. He peeked at me again, just his curled fingers, eyes, and the top of his head visible over the edge of the bed. Okay? Yeah. Okay. I stretched out on the floor, folding one arm behind my head so I could leave the other for Mokyuchin, petting from his neck to behind his ears. It was supposed to be a pose of supreme everything is okayness and reassurance. So you're a witch? His eyes got wider, then wider still, but he said nothing. Just stared, waiting. I smiled at him. Okay. Then his chin came to rest on his fingers and he canted his head to one side, like a confused puppy, frowning. You don't mind? Nope. You don't think it's weird? You're weird, Yorgi, but being a witch has nothing to do with it. He grinned, then immediately went back to frowning. Hey, you're weird, too. I know. I'd have to be really stupid not to. I didn't know any other skating ballerina boy who is also a girl princesses. It was a hard life. You, won't tell my parents, right? They wouldn't. No, I said, voice firm. I was dead serious about that. If there was one thing I knew, it was how important a secret was. Especially with traditional parents like his. Never. No one will hear it from me. With a relieved sigh, Yorgi got back to being comfy. If I knew how to do spells and stuff already, I'd make you a love potion to use on your girl, you know. Help you out. Or that's sweet, Yorgi. But I want to do this fair and square. I don't think love spells are the way to do it. It never works out in fairy tales. I guess. I laughed. But yikes. Watch out, girls of St. Petersburg. Yorgi Popovich on the prowl of the world, you mean? Wow. Yorgi managed a pretty funny maniacal stage laugh, and I had to bury my face in Mokuchin's fur to muffle my own giggles. It was ridiculous. We lapsed into quiet after that, and for a while I started to drift back to sleep. But then, sure enough, there was the rustle of blankets as he rolled back toward me. "Hey Victor." I didn't bother to open my eyes at that time. "Thanks." "Sure thing, Yorgi. You know, you can trust me, too. If there's ever anything you wanna tell me." I forced a smile. "Yeah, I know." "Thanks," I said. I wasn't lying. I knew I could probably tell him. A princess with a witch for a best friend. Sharing secrets. Would he understand? Would he accept me? Or would he leave, like Gavrok had? It could be the wolves all over again, right in my rink. Maybe I could tell him, but I wasn't going to. When I went home on Sunday evening, I took up Yorgi's offer to let his mama drive me home for once instead of taking the rail. I'd been careful to avoid any crossover the whole summer, but there were only 2 weeks left before Nico would be here. After that, it'd be back to the academy and the start of the competitive season for the Junior Grand Prix. Even if I could come up with an excuse to see Yorgi outside of training, there really wouldn't be time until holiday breaks except on weekends, and I needed every minute I had for homework or rehearsals. When we got to my aunt and uncle's house, I didn't run in right away. Instead, after Mokuchin and I climbed out of the car, I tapped on the passenger window, and waited for Yorgi to roll down the window. "Hey, Yorgi," I said, feet shuffling on the concrete where a crack had let some grass come up. "Do you want to come over to my place next weekend? Trade off this time?" The startled look on his face might have been funny if it hadn't come with such a feeling of guilt. His mother had to answer for him while he just gawked at me. "Why Vitya? That would be lovely. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'll drop him off here Friday afternoon. How's that sound?" "Good," I said. Yorgi was still speechless. "Dinner time?" "Perfect. I'll have him here then. Thank you. And thanks for the ride, too. And for letting me stay over." "Of course, Vitya." "Anytime." Mokuchin tugged at his leash, tail wagging. He was glad to be home and anxious to get me inside. Dinner and all of his favorite toys were waiting for him. I waved, and Yorgi's mother waved back, with Yorgi joining in only after she nudged him. "See you tomorrow, Yorgi." "Why yeah, see you." I waited, watching them pull away and drive down the street before going into the house to tell my aunt that we were going to have company. She was thrilled. A friend, a friend, a friend for Vitya. Summer storms moved in and out it like the ocean current as they did every year in St. Petersburg, pulling in the ocean air and sweeping everything clean. I loved the rain and the energy of the thunder, but it made it hard to do much more than stay inside. I spent the next week fine-tuning the hopak skate and begging my dance teachers to critique my rusty jive. Most of what I would be doing for my exhibition would be based on the cha-cha, which was pretty basic stuff for someone classically trained, but if I wanted my moves to seem authentic, I needed help. Rock and roll wasn't in anyone's wheelhouse for summer workshops, though. Not when I was supposed to be refining my classic ballet technique and working on my lifts. I didn't even have a song yet. Yorgi took me back to his house one afternoon in lieu of city exploring, and we spent the afternoon listening to oldies in his garage while thunder rumbled overhead. I had no idea he had such an extensive collection, but that was the Popovich family. "Why not? You'll have to show me your collection when we get to your house," he said. He'd been bringing up my house every chance he could get. I wanted to be mad, but I guess I couldn't blame him for being excited. It's not that great. One day, I'll have a huge music library, though. When I have my own place. That'd be so cool. Yorgi cycled through 1950s pop, rock and roll, doo-wop, rhythm and blues, playing DJ while I tried them out. Mokuchin dozed in the corner, and the open garage door kept the air fresh and alive and exiting. It wasn't unusual to start dancing at the academy on a whim, get a good song going, and hardly any student would be able to resist the call. So it didn't seem strange at all that Yorgi joined in, both of us dancing an impromptu lindy. "Gosha, you look so gay dancing around like that." One of his brothers stood at the doorway to the house, laughing at us. I hadn't even noticed him, too wrapped up in the music. I froze in place. Yorgi just laughed right back, turning mid-hop to throw a retort his way. "And you look so gay just standing there." Their teasing was so natural and the insults came so easily to their lips, like frequent visitors or old friends. I didn't think any of it was funny. Maybe they meant it all as a joke, but it was hard to tell sometimes. The sky flashed from the storm and the brothers got quiet to listen to the grumble that followed 3 seconds later. Then it was back to the music of half a century ago and the rain drumming the flagstone and the manicured lawn. It was a good opportunity to check on Mokyu-chin, who'd woken up to glare out at the wet pavement. I crouched at his side and gave him pets, as if he were the one that needed them, not me. Vasin went back inside with a final shake of his head, and Yorgi changed up the tracks again, chuckling to himself. Sorry about the interruption. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This one is perfect for you, Viktor. I looked up when it started, speedy electric guitar picking immediately catching my interest and provided just the distraction I needed, pulling my thoughts away from where the place they'd been going. Bass, drums, and a smooth, bluesy voice I already wanted to move. I had to move. Yorgi was right. It was perfect for me. Roll over Beethoven, and tell Tchaikovsky the news. The rain didn't let up the rest of the week. We explored the marshes a bit near where my aunt and uncle lived, but I never brought him back to the house. You have to wait for Friday. Mean patience, Yorgi. It was so wet and mosquito-ridden that we couldn't stay out for long anyway, though. Not because we were quitters, but because Mokyu-chin kept trying to swim out after the frogs and I couldn't go after him. It was definitely something I'd have to keep in mind for the future. Moku was a very, very good swimmer, and he loved the water. Also, Yorgi's mom did not like him coming home soaking wet and covered in mud. Neither did my aunt, but at least she was used to it. When Tatya Polya dropped Yorgi off on Friday, her smile was a little more strained than the last time I'd seen her. And do try to stay away from the swamps, dears, she said. I shuddered. It was almost like Lilia. We promised, and I put the forest on the forbidden list, too. I wasn't ready to share that with Yorgi. Not yet. I had other things in mind, anyway. But first, Auntie made him eat herring, because of course she would. And he liked it. Do you want to watch a movie or something? He asked after he was stuffed and my aunt was as pleased and giddy as she could possibly be. Nah. Let's go upstairs. I wanna show you something. You boys have fun. My aunt had her hands gripped around my uncle's arm like she might float away. I ignored her, but Yorgi called back a thank you. We will. Like the good boy he was. That Yorgi Popovich. Once in my room, I shut the door, got Mokyu-chin his rawhide from the top of the dresser, and went to my closet. Yorgi made use of his time, taking everything in like my room was some kind of museum. So this is your room? He whispered. Yep. At least part of the year. Can you believe it? Over my shoulder, I saw that he was gazing at me with those wistful, puppy dog eyes again. Emotional. It's not that great. We've come so far as friends. You even invited me over. I'm standing in your room. You never let anyone into your room. Are you trying to make me regret it now? No. No, not at all. Rolling my eyes, I went back to it. Pancakes. Okay, calm down. I've been working on something. He came to peer around me, but I stood and shoved a tackle box into his arms, then pushed him to the bed. What's this? Take a seat and stop talking. I got him sitting crisscross in front of me on the bed with the tackle box on my left side, active supplies on the right, and a clean towel in between. Makeup was a part of any skater's performance, but as far as I knew, Yorgi had only worn the basics for his routines. The things that would accentuate his natural looks and show up well on camera. It was probably his mother's handiwork, since she was the one responsible for his haircuts. And if her bragging was to be believed, she went to all of his competitions. But that also meant that she probably controlled him. What are you doing, exactly? I said no talking. I had a full arsenal at my disposal, and years of having worn and applied theater makeup to aid me. The past week, I'd practiced just a few techniques here and there, nothing serious that I couldn't quickly wipe off. But I felt confident as I prepared my canvas that this was going to be my gift to Yorgi. The one thing that I could offer that he could keep. No matter how busy, no matter how divided. Even if he found out about Nico, he frowned at me. But that was fine, it was sort of his resting face anyway. I wiped him down, applied moisturizer, then set to work with my array of liquids, creams, and powders, brushes, pencils, poofs. I didn't have a ton of practice doing makeup on others, but I knew enough to make it work, gradually transforming my clean-cut rich boyfriend into the dark creature of the night that he believed himself to be. It was actually pretty cool with the sharp features that he had, still coming into definition. I gave him stark lines, smoky shadows, black lips and eyeliner against smooth, pale skin. There was just enough lavender blended in to give him an almost dead look, like a vampire, and I regretted not having false fangs to give him. That might have been going too far. When I finished, I found the hand mirror and held it face down in my lap. I'm gonna show you what I did. If you hate it, we can wash it off. If you like it, I'll teach you how to do it tomorrow so you can do it yourself. Sound good? His nod was a brave one, like all good Russian boys should be. I handed him the mirror, and for all that bravado, he didn't look at first. I cleared my throat. Coach always told me that I can be who I want to be on the ice. That's the same for you, too, Yorgi. Even if you can't be you any other time. Duh? He nodded again, then lifted the mirror and took in the gothic facade, his war paint. For several long and silent seconds, he stared at himself, eyes searching like a river to find himself. Well? I asked when the quiet continued to stretch on and on. Do you like it? The corner of his mouth twitched, stretching back in indecision, and Mokyu slithered over my comforter to slip his head between my arm and my hip, resting his chin on my thigh while Yorgi said nothing. Yorgi, still without saying anything, he lowered the mirror, and his head. A little sob escaped him. Why? Why are you crying? I did a good job, didn't I? Maybe he preferred a different style to the death metal aesthetic, but I can work on that. No problem. Yorgi, what's wrong? He choked out, lifting his head with a sudden smile and a full-on stream of tears. You did this all for me. Well. Yeah. Stop crying. You're going to ruin your makeup, you dingbat. What Yorgi was doing, getting so emotional, had Mokyu-chin really worked up. He whimpered, sitting up so that he could be right up against my side. This only put him right in the middle when Yorgi leaned over to bear hug, skinny arms wrapped all the way around my shoulders. You act like you're so bitter and jaded and alone, but really you just needed a friend, Viktor. I knew it. It's okay. I'm here for you. Mokyu-chin tried to wriggle free, and something about that with the combination of Yorgi's sobs and melodrama made me lose it, too. I don't know what it was. I just couldn't help it. Which was stupid, but he was crying, and then I was crying, and Moku was going oh and it was a big mess that didn't stop until my aunt opened the door. Are you boys okay in? She stopped mid-question, staring at us while we stared at her, arms around each other, dog between us, with tears and makeup all over. For several heartbeats, no one moved. I don't even think Mokyu-chin breathed. It was just a moment frozen in time. Finally, my aunt came to herself, blinking. What's going on? It's performance art, obviously, I screeched. Don't you see the stage makeup? Leaning back, I gestured at the makeup kit, the wedges, the brushes and powders. While she looked, I wiped my eyes, then smacked Yorgi's hands away from his own face. You're ruining it, Yorgi. Cripes, what did you do? Sorry. I don't know if my aunt really believed me despite it being the truth, but she left, shaking her head and closing the door behind her. Mokyu-chin collapsed against me with a groan, and Yorgi sat back, laughing. What? Nothing. He wiped his eyes, careful of the liner this time. Just the way you yelled. You were so fierce. Even to your poor aunt. She shoulda knocked. Let me fix your makeup. If you like it, that is. Duh. I do. Yorgi smiled again. He really did have a nice smile. Sort of sweet. He was going to be a heartbreaker one day for sure. And you'll teach me? Yeah. Everything I know. I got you some mascara and eyeliner to take home, but anything else we'll have to pick up tomorrow. We're going to buy makeup? Why not? We need to have it for our programs. Oh, we can get some nail polish, too. I usually skip that, but you might like it. No joke. His eyes actually sparkled at the prospect. Black nail polish? You can get whatever you want, Yorgi. I won't tell anyone if you won't. Never.